let's talk about how to actually make sales on Instagram. First things first, stop cold DMing people. It's weird, it's annoying, and nobody likes it. Next, you absolutely have to stop making infographics like this that say something like, buy my course, or the doors are finally open. In this video, I'm gonna share with you the 3 ways to sell on Instagram in 2024 and beyond, and really just show you the new and updated way on how to actually make sales. And you're probably like, who is this? Why should I trust her? Well, my name is Julia, and I'm a $1 million content creator, and I use Instagram as a funnel to find buyers for my online courses. Let's dive in. Rule number 1 is your Instagram stories. So what you're gonna have to do is start looking at your stories as almost a funnel. I'm gonna give you my 3 story sequence that I usually only give my paying clients. And this is actually where most of our sales come from. And we found the Instagram stories to be the highest converting place for followers into buyers. So first things first, we have to understand what the Instagram stories are actually good for. So your Instagram stories are attracting in people that already follow you. So it's probably the same people watching your stories every single day. So the content that you put on your stories is going to be different than the content you put in feed. And on your stories, what you're going to do is you're going to nurture your audience. So maybe that's your friends, your family, and most important part of your stories is that the people who are watching are the people who are the most loyal. I want you to think of your stories as if you were creating a bingeable TV show. So think to back in the day when people used to have to wait an entire week for the next episode, and this is how the media actually grew, by dripping out the videos every single week. So what is the content you want to drip out every single day as if people are watching a show or a documentary of your life? So sometimes you want to share some personal stuff to make your brand more relatable. Maybe you want to also share some hardships, but this is the exact sequence that you need to use to actually create Instagram stories that sell. So step number 1 is the first frame. The first frame is the most important because the way the Instagram algorithm works is if you don't get the viewer engaged in the first frame, they won't be able to make it to the rest. So let's say you have a really amazing offer, but you don't really have a good first frame. The biggest issue that I see with creators is that they have like 50 stories up. You'll never really see me making more than like 2 or 3 stories at a time, and that's because it will drastically lower your engagement the more stories that you create. So in that first frame, you want to post something like this, which is a story with a general poll, something that applies to everybody, whether they are already a client or they are maybe a past client, or maybe they're just a friend or a family member. That way you get most of your audience to be opting in to your story, your first story, which tells the Instagram algorithm, yes, let's show this to more people. And then the second frame is going to be some sort of value. So now that you've opened up the storyline, what you want to do is you want to provide some content, some actual value to the thing that you shared. So let's just say that first poll was, what kind of entrepreneur are you? It was a product-based business or a service-based business. Then the next story would be, whether you're a product or a service-based business, here's exactly the one simple funnel you need to use to make sales from your Instagram stories. And then I would actually explain the sequence that it takes and the value and offer value for free. Now the third story is the most important story, and that is the call to action. So what you want to do there is now close the loop on this storyline that you've created. So let's just say story number 1 was the poll, story number 2 was the value, and then story number 3 is the call to action. So in this case, it would be, if you're a service-based business using Instagram for business, I have a coaching program that teaches content creators and service-based businesses how to monetize. We are opening up 2 or 3 spots this week only. Do you want to learn more? Yes, no. And I actually think putting a no option is really good because then you can get more votes on your stories. So this is really valuable for creators on Instagram that are selling things, because then we're going to take it one step further, which is rule number 2 on how to sell on Instagram, and that is your DM strategy. So the reason why I shared about the stories first is because now that you have poll voters, you can actually go ahead and you can start having DM conversations with the people that voted. So the DMs are the most powerful tool on Instagram. And if you want to go really deep on the DM strategy, you're going to want to watch this video here after this one and after you hit that subscribe button. So the reason why I love the DM feature is because you can actually have real human conversations with the people in your audience. So let's just say someone voted on your story, and let's say they voted on the first poll and the last poll of the 3-part sequence. Now you should go ahead and send them a message. So like I said, most of our buyers followers are actually coming from the people who vote on our polls. And that is because those are your most engaged viewers and the most engaged people in your audience. So what you want to do is you want to have those same people having a sales conversation with them. And this is where you turn content into followers and viewers, and then those followers into paying clients. This is how this happens real time. So there's two different strategies I want to go over here. Strategy number one is the sell by chat strategy, and strategy number two is the sell by call strategy. So for example, I was leading my group coaching call this morning for my program, the Conscious Creator Academy, and one of my clients, Jules, was like, Julia, I don't think I'm going to be able to do sales calls because I'm going to have a baby in about a month and a half. What should I do? And I basically gave her an entire sell by chat strategy and how to build a funnel. Now, if you're interested in the exact training that I gave to her, comment the word funnel so I know you would be interested in a video like this. So basically, what I taught her was how to create a DM conversation that will really hook the people in and really give them value. Because ultimately, whatever you're selling, the only way that people are gonna buy from you is if you provide them value. You see, the sale is the byproduct of the amount of value you can drive forward in the conversation. So the sell by chat strategy would be to open up the line of communication with them and say, hey, I saw you voted on my poll. I would love to learn a little bit more about you. Then you'd actually go into a pretty typical sales flow, which is learning more about their current state, then their desired state, right? Like where they really want to go in their business and their life. And then you would bridge the gap. Now, this is super important because there's two different strategies that actually go down in the DMs here. And strategy number one is value-driven follow-up, which is where you would send them to a YouTube video like this and you would say, hey, I have some ideas on how you can sell on your stories. Then you would go in with accountability-driven follow-up and you would say, when do you think you'll have a chance to watch the video? And they'll say tonight or tomorrow. And then boom, you've now been able to have value and accountability-driven follow-up, so you have a tight communication with this lead. Now, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a really tight grip on your leads and your conversations on Instagram. The DMs get really busy and really messy. I probably receive anywhere from 200 to 300 DMs a day. So being able to keep track of these conversations are the real needle movers in my business. So now you've learned how to sell on stories, you've learned how to sell in the DMs. Now I'm going to teach you how to sell with a free course funnel, which is number 3. Now I love the free course funnel idea because this is where you get to go really deep with your audience. So let's say that someone was watching your stories and watching your reels. If we actually calculated the amount of hours that they viewed your content, it's probably somewhere between 1 to 2 hours. Before someone buys, there has been studies that have shown that people need to consume at least 7 to 8 hours of content. So if people aren't buying straight from your DMs, it's probably because you haven't yet offered them enough value. So by creating a free course funnel, you can actually go ahead and get your buyer or potential new buyer warmed up and really show them what you have to offer. So let's say you're DMing them, you have a great conversation, you're like, hey, why don't you watch my free course, my free video, my free masterclass, whatever you want to call it, and then come back and let me know what you think. Now this really warms people up because, for example, I got an objection this morning in the DMs where someone said, hey, I have some big life expenses coming up, so I don't think I can join your free masterclass because you're going to sell me something at the end. And I said, hey girl, totally understand. I have clients that have newborn babies. I have clients that are buying houses. I totally understand. Why don't you just come hang out at my free class and then let's have a conversation again after the free class and see where you're at. When you give with zero expectation, that's when you create really quality buyers. So this video isn't just teaching you how to get any kind of buyer on Instagram. This video is teaching you how to perform and get really high quality buyers to be interested in your products and services. So most people will think they failed because the person didn't buy in the chat. But what most people don't realize is that most of their sales are actually going to come from the follow-up. So this is why tracking and keeping tight-knit on your communications and setting reminders to follow up with people is so important. Now, after they go through your free course funnel, you may be wondering, okay, how do I convert the sale? Which brings me into bonus step number 4, which is our high ticket sales call strategy. So I don't talk about this a lot, but if you're interested in this, let me know and make sure you subscribe to my channel because I do want to make another video on this. But basically what I've been able to do is run and scale a sales team to be able to sell my high ticket courses. Now, I was doing all the sales calls myself for about 1 to 2 years before I hired sales reps on my team. Now, the reason why I decided to hire sales reps is because I wanted to create a company that was scalable and not 100% reliant on me. So basically where I'm at right now, making multiple six figures a month on Instagram, is through having a sales team and having support on the sales side. So basically what we do is we create content, we send people to our DMs, then we book them on calls, we offer value, and then they become a client. Now, this is a pretty streamlined process, but there is some nuance, right? Like having value-driven follow-up, accountability-driven follow-up, and posting free masterclasses to nurture the leads even further. So our strategy around high-ticket sales calls is so that we can really focus every single day on building relationships. Now, there's so much more that comes with high-ticket sales calls, which are follow-up strategies, lead tracking, looking at your close rate, your show rate. So like I said, if that's something you're interested in, I will definitely be making more videos on that. But for this video, I just want to show you how you can actually source leads and sell on Instagram using my one simple funnel. So these are my best 4 tips on how to sell on Instagram. And this is a part of a 4-part series where I'm teaching you the exact funnel that made me over $1 million as a content creator. So here's what you should do next. Watch this video if you want to go deeper on my DM strategy, and make sure you hit the subscribe button because next week I'm putting out the final part of this 4 series and I can't wait to see you there.